Well, my name is Ben Cleveland, and I was born and raised along the Sugar River here, about 5 buildings down from where the bank is. And I started blacksmithing, you might say, when I was 7 or 8 years old. I watched my dad and his helpers. And during the war, why, some of those, I worked for General Motors making those big shells, and they putting in all college students there, and they wanted to know what college I went to. And I said, well, I worked about 12, 14 years under an old master, and I said, I figured that was enough for me, and I said, I can go out and get a job anywhere. I don't have to advertise for a job or go work for somebody else. I can work for myself. We didn't have any fly spray years ago, so we had that was a horse's tail about that long, and we'd have some little guy brush flies off their front feet when we have one shoeing on one front foot while the other would be down, and so they'd brush flies. I'd give them a nickel or a dime, and that was a lot of money. And if they didn't be good, why, we'd have a twitch like this. We'd get a hold of their nose, and we'd put this twitch on there, and we'd wind it up a little bit, and it'd hurt a little, you know. And the horse can't think of only one thing at a time, and this way he'd get all his attention. But if one was too mean, why, my dad would whistle or sing to him or something and hold him, and then the helper there, his hired man, would pick up the foot, and my dad would watch their eyes, and their eyes would change when they go to kick or anything, and he'd tell the helper, said, let the foot down now, he said, he's getting ready to get mean again. So they shot a lot of mean horses that way, that otherwise you'd had the rope. And this is the wheel. We'd take the steel tires off in the wagons and off big wagon wheels, and we'd lay them up on the saw horses, and then we'd make a chalk mark there. And this has got a little arrow here. We could move around, and then we'd run around that wheel there, or that tire, wherever it stopped, then we'd put another chalk mark. And that way is the only way you could measure them. And then we knew just how much that we'd have to shrink that tire so to fit it tight again. We'd have a little, what they called a prick punch. It'd come right down to a sharp point. We'd mark on the outside, and then the other side here, we'd leave open, and we had big calipers about that wide because the tire would be hot. You couldn't hold it otherwise, and we had a tire shrinker, and we put it in and it'd shrink it together, and then when we got it, we saw it right, we'd take this big caliper and hold it until it comes to those prick bumps. And then that was right. And then we'd maybe spend looking at the wheel. If it was a good stout one, maybe we'd, yeah, here's the old calipers like we use. I had mine a little bigger. This one here is good, but it was, it'd be pretty hot if we get up that close for a hot tire. This is that caliper I was talking about. What do we got here? Oh, this is a little poker we used to stir up the fire, you know. If the coal would burn out in the middle there, and we'd get clinkers, and if there was any clinkers in it, we could dig them out with that, and then we could put on a little fresh coal and build the fire up again.
Could you tell us how you temper?
Oh, on tempering? Well, like a coal settle, you sharpen it, you know, and they'd come in pretty dull, and you'd hammer it out again and sharpen it up, and then we'd heat it back about 3 inches and we'd shine it up, and then we put it in a little water or oil, and the colors would come down. They're just like the colors of a rainbow. And when you got to the right color, if you wanted the right temper, well, then you dip it in the water. I used to use water for kosher most of the time, but a lot of things you got to use oil. But there's 9 different colors, and there's only about 5 or 6 of them you can see with your naked eye, see? And the rest of them you can't see. But I remember now that I wanted to be about like a pigeon blue, you know. I call it like pigeon breast, you know, that bluish color. That's when we temper the chisel at that color. And boy, it really hold up good. And the straw color, if you got the straw color on that, why, that's the hardest color there is on any piece of steel. It's too hard, it's a little chip off, you know.
How did you mend chain?
Chain? Well, if there's a 3/8 thick links, take a 3/8 rod, and then we bend it over and bend the ends around, and then if it's a heavy chain, well, we'd hang the chain over our shoulder, you know, and we have songs in there, and we had what they call a welding compound. It would keep the dirt out, you know, and when you bring it out, you just hit it, and that compound would go off, and you'd have to have a welding heat. So we weld a new link right in that chain. Years ago, at that time, early days, you couldn't go over and buy a link like you can now. They got them now, they put together a little bolt or something. I forget how they put them together now, but we welded them. But as I say, if it was a heavy chain, we'd have to have part of it over our shoulder while we were standing up at the forge, and then we'd whirl around to the anvil after we had the welding heat. A welding heat is the best weld that you can get. Acetylene is all right, and so is electric, but it doesn't compare with forge welding. No, when you're forge welding, why, it drags all the metal together when you pound on it, and the more you pound on the coal sheet or something, it drives the pores together. It makes it steel stronger on any steel. But that you won't get that with your acetylene or electric. With a forge you can, you know. You see them pound on an old chisel or something, they're welding, and that's what they pound on there for, is to get those. You take a bone off on a big draft horse's leg, and one off on one of these little standard breads, and that bone off on that big horse is kind of coarse, you know, but off on that trotting horse or whatever he got, racehorse, you see the grain in that bone is a lot finer than on the big horse. And if you want to tell whether you're working with a piece of steel or iron, if you got a cement floor, find out whether you got a piece of steel or that. You throw it on the floor, and it'll ring when you're like a bell. But if it's iron, it'll just be dead sound to it, you know. Well, this is a nail puller. You see, you can get a hold of the nail, and you've got a lot of leverage here, you know, and you can pull nails out with that. It's a little different. They make them a little different now. But that used to work pretty good. This stuff was all made in the blacksmith shop. Years ago, you couldn't go to a hardware store to buy anything, you know, much. Well, now here's some of the old songs that they used to use for different things, you know. See, the thing can't slip here. It's filled up here, but We could use this on plowshares when we baptize my clothes, you know. They're good heavy tongs. They're heavy, aren't they? Huh? And this is a wood chisel. And you drill around the hole, then you can square it up with this here. It cuts both ways. This is good for carpenters. Well, I don't know. They don't do much barn building anymore or anything like that, like they used to. But this was a good tool for them. And here's the old apron. Take that too. This is mule hide, they claim, and we had to wear an apron, otherwise with welding heat, you know, the sparks would come back and you'd have your pants all full of little pinholes.
Is this the kind of hammer you use?
Yeah, that's a 2.5 pound hammer, and that's on one where you want to bevel down something, you know, so forth it welds it. And that's the peen of the hammer there, see? What they call the peen. Here's the face here. Yeah, that's a nice little hammer. I had one just like it here, and